Hello, and welcome to a new series on this channel in which I am going to document my process on working on my next game. I want to document this so that I can share what I learned throughout the process, and also so that I can look back on what I got wrong and what I got right throughout development. I am going to ask and hopefully answer 5 questions. What did I do this week? What problems did I face during the week? Did I find any solutions to these problems? What did I learn during this week? What are my plans for next week? So, without any further ado, let's get started. First of all, what did I do this week? I started work on the prototype for Project Younger Dryas. It's a strategy game about restarting civilization by introducing technology to surviving hunter-gatherers after a world-ending cataclysm. This is the game at this point. I tried to formulate and prototype the core mechanics and took a different approach than I usually do. Rather than conceptualizing the mechanics fully and then prototyping them, I decided to start prototyping from a half-baked idea in my head. At this point, I knew what I wanted the game to be about, but not how I wanted the game to play. All I knew was that I wanted to make a strategy game. I started off with the following system. There would be a procedurally generated map with some hunter-gatherer colonies placed randomly. Each colony would generate culture over time just by existing, and this would be the primary resource of the game. The player could persuade a colony to spend culture towards constructing pyramids. If a colony was in a pyramid's range of effect, its culture output would increase. Each colony contributed to the total culture of the civilization. I think there is promise in the pyramid mechanic since it forces you to think about the placement of your pyramids to maximize the culture output of a colony. This is probably the most strategic element in this prototype at the moment. The second, and arguably more important objective of a pyramid would be to spread technology. After placing a pyramid, the player would be able to select which technology the pyramid would be responsible for distributing to colonies. For example, a pyramid might be responsible for spreading the tech writing. Once a colony gained enough points towards writing, then that colony would learn that technology and also become a source of it, albeit a weaker source than the pyramid itself. The next mechanic that I decided to implement was a fog of war system. The game would start with the map being largely obscured by fog, and the more total culture accumulated, the more the fog would recede, and hence more vision would be provided. As the fog receded, new colonies would be revealed, which would join the civilization. These colonies would be at the base form, and the player would have to grow them into larger ones over time. After this, I implemented a simple RTS style camera controller with edge pan and zoom controls. Pretty standard stuff for a top-down strategy game. Now, we can come to what problems did I face during the week. The main problem that I faced was of uncertainty. I was, and still am, uncertain about whether these core mechanics are fun. I think they're okay, and for the most part that will do. However, I want to establish a clear game loop for the game because at this point the loop is primarily this. Find new colonies, construct pyramids optimally based on colony generation, wait for culture to accumulate so that vision increases, and then find new colonies again. The main problem I find in this loop is that after making pyramids, one has to simply wait for culture to accumulate. That can become boring quickly and disrupt the flow of the game. There is another kind of uncertainty that I am facing, and that is the uncertainty of scope. I do not want this game to become too big, but I want it to be bigger than Overcome, the last platformer that I made. This is a fine line to walk, and I can sort of feel the scope creep approaching, So I have to keep my impulses in check and not add in every single mechanic that I can think of. Did I find any solutions to these problems? At the moment, I have a couple of solutions in mind. First, to tackle the unfun part of the loop, in which the player has to wait for culture to accumulate, I think implementing the idea of pyramids disseminating technology might be a possible solution. However, it is possible that even after implementing this mechanic, one would have to wait for technology to spread to colonies, so that could be a problem too. This might be solved by balancing the game so that the time it takes for culture to accumulate so that vision increases overlaps with the time it takes for tech to spread to a colony. Moreover, this might only be a problem in the early game, since in the late game the player would have a bunch of colonies and pyramids to manage, so that management aspect would take up most of the time. To make sure that I do not succumb to scope creep, I will need to clearly define what this game is going to be before fully starting work on it. For this, I will need to do more research on what makes strategy games fun and what player archetypes I want to target with this game, and individually what mechanics exist in strategy games. I think researching this will give me a better idea of what I can implement and what I can avoid. What did I learn during this week? Mostly that I know less about strategy game design than I thought I did. Since I've played a lot of strategy since I was a kid, I practically grew up on Age of Empires 2, I thought I had a good understanding of what makes strategy games fun. And I think I do have that understanding, but on a very macro level. I know that min-maxing resources, optimizing structure placement, and organizing layouts are fun activities in strategy games, but I do not know how they work in detail, or more specifically, how to design and implement them from scratch. What are my plans for next week? Mostly research. I'm going to research what makes strategy games fun and the core mechanics of popular strategy games. I will also try to look at what strategy games fail to get right so that I can avoid those mistakes as well. Aside from research, I'll try to implement the technology spreading aspect of the pyramid mechanic. I think that has potential to be fun, but I can only tell after implementing it. All that being said, I have a lot of work for next week and I will keep you updated on my progress. Hopefully, this game idea develops into something fun and I can make a new game out of it. I will keep you updated on my progress, and thanks for watching this video. If you like this sort of content, like the video. If you want more of this, then you can subscribe, and if you have any feedback or comments, you can leave them down below in the comment section. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in a future video.